Good evening, everybody. How you all doing? Anybody know what time it is? Is it 8 o'clock or is it 7 o'clock? Maybe it's 9 o'clock. I don't know. I'm still confused. I still keep thinking that, well, the clock says 10, but it's really 9. And so last night I got to bed, I don't know, 12:30 or so, because I kept saying, well, it's really only 11:30. And then for some reason I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning and couldn't get back to sleep. So this is really screwing me up, guys. Hopefully by this time next week, I will be used to it. So good evening to everybody. I see we're starting to fill our seats. Good to see you all. A bunch of you were chatting around a little earlier. I know that they do open the chat window up before the thing actually goes live, and some people go in there and have a conversation. Very, very nice. If I seem a little off tonight, it's just schedule. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. I think this might help, although it's decaf. It's all up here, though. So, you know, I'm not a doctor. You know, I don't give medical advice. You know, all that stuff about me. You know that everything I talk about is just my own personal experience doing the carnivore lifestyle, and take it for what it's worth. That's my disclaimer. Got that out of the way. It's been a wild couple of days. I'm sure most of you, well, I'm hoping most of you saw my little cigar smoking rant yesterday morning. The good news was I was actually smiling at the end of that, and when I go on these things, I'm not as upset as I sound sometimes. I think for a video that didn't get maybe half to 2/3 of the views that I normally get on my videos, I think I got 3 times the comments on that one. They just kept on coming, and I was trying to just take a few hours away from this. But about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I saw there was page after page after page of those things, and I said, well, I think I better get on it and answer some of these people, because a lot of people seem very worried about me. Don't worry about me when I do that kind of stuff. You know, things upset you in this world. I'm sure there's not one of you that doesn't get upset by something. The things that bother me the most in this world is having to deal with stupid people. And thank goodness, I would say 98%, maybe even more, of the comments I got were all very supportive. I want to take a quick look over here. Bear with me. I want to go in and just for grins, I want to take a look at the number of people that unsubscribed from that video yesterday. So let's see, there it was there, and let's look at the analytics. 19 people unsubscribed from that video. You can see that right here, 19 people. Do you see it across the top? I had 2,700 views, 411 watch hours. That's a lot of watch hours. 19 people unsubscribed. And I looked at that, and I never have that. I usually have a plus, you know, +5, +10, +20 subscribers on every video I put out there. But this one, I must have alienated any number of people. And so I looked at that number, and I actually said, good riddance. I said, I think I got rid of maybe a lot of the people that were always crabbing at me in the comments about one thing or another. So if they finally got fed up with me, I think 3 or 4 of the comments I got stated they felt the need. They actually felt the need to open up their comment window and type and tell me that they're unsubscribing because of my cigar. And I say to myself, Mitch, who are these people? Because I would never be so presumptuous as to scold anybody, especially somebody that, that I wasn't paying for doing anything. I would say, more power to you. I don't particularly care to do that, but it's your life. If you want to do that, go right ahead. But to tell people, for people to tell me that that they thought it was disgusting and they really liked my channel, but they couldn't bring themselves, they just couldn't bring themselves to watch me anymore after I did that. And I kind of did that on purpose. It was interesting. I mean, the whole attitude about that thing was, let's see how many people I can scare away. All the regular guys were very supportive and right in there, and they don't give a damn if I smoke cigars or not. They know that I care about my health. They just understand that I don't think smoking those cigars is all that bad for me, that I'm going to worry about it. Certainly not as bad as the standard American diet, because I think for my age, I'm doing pretty damn good. So it was interesting. It was interesting, but it was a day's work. It was a full day's work answering all of those comments, because I don't like you guys to think that I'm ignoring you in any way, because I don't ever ignore you. So that was interesting. That was interesting. What's going on right now is very interesting, and I always try to. Well, when I go on these live streams, I like to give you kind of a peek into the back end of what it's like to do what I'm doing here. Especially those of you who tell me in the comments that you're because you started Carnivore 6 days ago, you feel the burning urge to get on YouTube, start a channel, and tell everybody about it. You'd be amazed how many people comment or email me that I just became a carnivore. I've been doing it for 10 days. Everything is healed. I've lost 100 pounds. This is the greatest thing in the world. I need to make a YouTube channel and get on YouTube and tell everybody about it. My answer to every one of them is encouraging always. I don't want to try to dissuade anybody who wants to be happy about this and spread the word. I don't think we can have too many people talking about carnivore. That's what Ken Berry told me back in August when I met him here in Orlando. When I asked him, do I really need to do this? And he encouraged me like crazy. So I try to encourage. I try to encourage those people. Right? I said yesterday, what I haven't done for a while? I haven't cooked anything other than bacon and eggs. So it was kind of pushing 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I hadn't really even thought about dinner. I had a steak that was defrosted in the refrigerator, and I said, I'm just going to make a quick video here about searing it off in my carbon steel pan, finishing it in the oven, 10-15 minutes, and not a lot of editing involved. Not a lot of production value. Just stand the camera up and just do it. So I did. It didn't take me real long to make that video. And it got released to the private group yesterday evening when I was done editing it. But I had it scheduled for 2 o'clock this afternoon. And this is what it's doing so far. It's got 3.2. Actually, it's got more than that. It's got last 48 hours. It's got 3,850 views. You see that over there where the mouse is? It's got 3,800, almost 4,000 views already. It was released about 6 hours ago. I've gained 8 subscribers. But look at this chart. See this gray area? I guess it can show up on your screens, but where I'm moving the mouse, that gray area shows where my videos usually chart. They usually chart right in there. And this thing started to level off, and then it just took off in an upward direction. And it says that I've got 90% more regular viewers are choosing to watch this video. It appears to me that you would rather see cooking videos or practical, not the insight and reasons why and scientific and all the other things that I like to do, because I think that gives us a little understanding of why we're doing what we're doing and why we have to approach it in certain ways to overcome the addictions and other health problems like that. But the best performing videos that seem to be, at least for me, are just cooking. So you guys are trying your damnedest to turn me into Martha Stewart. And it's okay. That's okay. So I like doing the cooking videos because I do like to cook. I used to like to cook all kinds of crazy stuff, but that doesn't go anymore. Now I'm limited to 5 or 6 different ingredients, and I have to keep figuring out different combinations to put them together. But I'm going to try to figure out a way to make more carnivore cooking videos, if that's what I think you guys want. So, oh, don't tell me, Curry Homestead House got a live stream tonight too. Oh. Hi, Curry. I saw that in the chat. And a couple of the drone guys have live streams tonight, but I don't think that that's going to hurt me. So we'll got 72 people in the house, which is a lot less than usual. Does Curry go on every Tuesday at 8? Has he? I know he didn't used to. He didn't used to, but we'll see. We'll see. This is like having a top-rated program on all the networks at the same time on TV. They have to split the demographic. Kurgan60 says his loyalty is with me. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. So let me say hello to some of the people that are here. We had, where'd the top of my chat go? We had Pair Display at 6:06 p.m. chimed in, said that he lost an hour. And that's a different name that was on there when I first saw it. Andrew H. is here. How you doing, Andrew? Good to see you. Randy K. is out on the road, but he said he's going to be listening as he drives. We have, Jerry Bell. Yeah, I thought Jerry Bell was one of the first people in, but he chimed in here and says, hello, meat people. Drone Shots Jody, my buddy. Robert Warrist is here. Naruto Kun was early. Good to see all you guys. And Donna Couture is here. Hi, Donna. Rosie Red is here. Good to see you tonight. And Carnivore in 24 is here. How you doing? Jonathan, Bags Pack Family from Indonesia. Yeah, time change. We had it. I guess you didn't. So it's earlier for you. Good to see you. Richard Williams from Copper Hill, Tennessee. How you doing? Dean and Rachel Fernandez are here. Mike K. Hi, Mike. Linda G. Good to see you. Tammy Petarch. Mama Cracker. Kathleen, welcome you guys. Lynn Lee, good to see you. Mark C. How you doing, Mark? Stanley Bridges in the house. Naomi James. Oh, that's a long one. Tina Schwickerath. Tina Schwickerath. I'm a 68-year-old woman. I've lost 50 pounds in the past 4 years. Low carb keto. Started carnivore last week. Good for you. It's going good, but I can't seem to eat the protein they are recommending. Well, eat what you can. Eat eggs, bacon, eat chicken, pork, whatever kind of fish, shrimp, whatever kind of protein you can handle. And as you get more into it, I think your range of things that you're eating will probably increase. Probably increase some. Stanley Bridge, that was a rant. I thought it was great. Thanks, man. I watched it a couple times and I thought it was pretty good too. I hope I didn't go too overboard. That one sentence there, I told the children to hold their ears first because I could not, honest to God, think of any other way to say and get the message across that I really wanted to get across to those people. But you know, I watch so many, especially, I don't want to say I watch a lot of political things, but I do watch Joe Rogan and I watch some of those kind of guys, and every other word out of their mouth is a four-letter word. So I think in our culture, it's not even a dirty word anymore. It's sometimes the only actual way to get your message across. I try to be PG-13 most of the time, if not all the time. What does Donna have to? Donna says, hopefully there are all those you blocked and couldn't comment on that video. I don't think those, I think those people, they're hit, you know, most of these trolls are hit and run. They don't waste any time trying to, they go through all the channels that aren't vegan or something, or are against their message, and they just, you know, must have a big long list, or they do a Google search, carnivore YouTube channels, and they just go one to another and type some stupid comment in there. They don't bother me so much for what they are. I'm making a huge effort not to slurp here, so I hope you appreciate that. They don't bother me for what it says. Let me get rid of that banner. There you go. They bother me because it bothers me that there are that kind of people in the world that we have to coexist with. People whose goal in life is just to create fear and worry and bad feelings in people because they're miserable, they're envious, they're just lowlifes, or they're being paid. And a lot of these trolls are part of organized efforts that are supported by big food money, big pharma money, to be as disruptive as they can. It's like in politics. You have what they call opposition research. You have offices and offices full of people, mostly young people, I would think, who do nothing all day but sit on a computer and try to and go through all social media, all news outlets, trying to dig up dirt on the opponents of whatever politician they're working for. That's disgusting in itself, but it's indicative of the way we are these days. We don't get our point across with positive messages. We get it mostly across with fear. If you don't do this, if you don't vote for me, these bad things are going to happen to you, and your grandmother's going off a cliff in a wheelchair. And that kind of thing bothers me. So when I basically come face to face with these people, like I do in the comments, my first inclination in these comments is not to aggravate anybody. I don't want anybody to hate me enough to start threatening me, stalking me, or launching a vendetta against me. So in the beginning, I just tried ignoring them. But you have to do something. You have to respond with something or give them a heart to get them to disappear off of the page you get that shows how many comments you have yet to address. So if I just gave them a heart and say I loved their comment, it's no big deal, but it bothered me. I didn't love their comment. I hated it. Sometimes I'll try to make a joke out of it, but occasionally these people, they just won't take an answer. They won't take an acknowledgement. They come whack-a-mole. They come right back with something else, and pretty soon you have to just get rid of them, and I hated to do that. Well, this is the new Mitch 2.0. I'm getting more and more familiar with the button that just says, keep these people out of my comments. And I'm just doing that. They try to disguise their question. And they're clever, some of them. They're not dumb people. They're clever. They might come on with a question like, I really like this carnivore diet. I really wanted to do it, but I did it for a week and my foot fell off and I was in the bathroom all the time and I got diabetes and my dog died. What should I do about that? Now, you know that those ridiculous questions aren't real. They're trying to get me to try to tell them how to fix all those things, and those things don't happen. We know better than that. So this got to make them go away, and that's just part of YouTube. And it's not just me. It's not just me. If you've been in the YouTube space, in the carnivore space for a while, you notice these people come in with a big splash, and inevitably in a couple of months you get the video telling you the same things that I'm telling you. That I've even heard of one YouTuber say that he's being stalked and he fears for his life and he had to give it up. Or I had no idea it was as complicated as it is or as much work as it is. Or you have to be as dedicated to it, especially in the early days of trying to build a channel, which in essence is what I'm still doing. And they go away, and one of the most disappointing ones for me, not being disappointed in him, but disappointed that this happened to him, was Pete Christie, Primal Timeline. If you remember, around the first of the year, he started his channel. He's a great editor. He was making great videos. He was doing these funny commercials. I really enjoyed his channel. He's a member of the private community, and I don't know. I think he dropped out of that too, and he has just disappeared. And he made a couple of videos towards the end saying the things that I'm talking about, and that's so sad. It's so sad that these low-life people have the ability to drive good people away by just harassing the hell out of them. And they know that it works. So I guess for me, my big middle finger to those people is I'm still here and I'm not going anywhere until I run out of things to say. And I'm hoping that's going to be a long way off. A long way off. Where was I saying hi to people? God, I wish I... Stanley Bridge told me it was a rant. 8 here in Ohio, says Kathleen, 8 degrees. Wow, it was in the upper 70s here today. I did lay out in the sun for about 15 minutes. It felt great. Eat your hearts out. Michael Kesselman, how you doing? Nadine Stachon, how are you? She likes my shirt. Thank you. This shirt has got a parrot. It's got birds on it. Got a parrot, and it's a large. This is left over from my bigger days. And believe it or not, see this shirt here? This used to be tight. It used to be. That's how much I had in there when I was kind of at the top of the different ranges that I yo-yo. I would go 150, 55 to about 200, and I had a limit set from when I got to 200 pounds. I something kicked in that I just said enough of this, and went back on a low carb, some kind of a diet. But I did that 10 or 15 times throughout my life, and that couldn't have been healthy for me to keep yo-yoing like that. Coco says, what was the video? Fred says, for some reason, I was unsubscribed. I just resubscribed. I've been getting a lot of comments of people saying, for some reason, they're getting unsubscribed. I don't think that's a conscious thing on YouTube's part or an algorithm thing. I don't know why it happens. I've been on YouTube since 2018 as a drone channel, and ever since I started on YouTube, that happens, and it happens across channels. I don't care who you are, what genre you are, whether they think you're politically correct or not. It doesn't matter. For some reason, don't know how, something unsubscribes people. So you have to check. And people aren't going to check all the time to see if they're subscribed to a channel. But if you have a favorite channel and all of a sudden you notice that you stop getting it recommended to you, look it up and see if you aren't unsubscribed from it. Lighting a cigar with music was awesome. I have that for you here tonight, guys. A little egg beating, cigar smoking music to inject a little class and culture into what some might consider a tasteless and classless live stream from some old guy. Speaking of some old guy, somebody told me there's another guy called Old Carnivore. And he's back. He was gone. He had a video about a year ago. And he's got 3,000 subscribers on his channel, and he's an 80 something. He's 80 years old. He's 3 years older than me. Maybe 4. I don't know when his birthday is. And I have mixed feelings about that. Obviously, he was Old Carnivore before. I was Old Guy Carnivore, so I can't accuse him of stealing my name because he did it first. I had no idea. I was Old Guy and a drone. So in reality, I've been Old Guy since 2018. So in that respect, I will claim my seniority. But I watched a couple of his videos, and I watched his latest video, and the poor guy has been through hell. He's been through hell. And he did a nice job. He did about a 20-minute video talking about his adventures, why he'd been gone. And he did carnivore for a while. And then last summer, he decided he must have watched somebody's video somewhere, and they told him all the health benefits, all the good chemicals and nutrients that are in watermelon. Now, evidently, he's a carb addict like most of us. So he started eating a ton of watermelon last summer and blew his whole, just blew everything. Gained a bunch of weight back. All of his myriad of 20 different illnesses that he rattled off all came back. And he ended up with cancer and ended up in the hospital, and just a nightmare. But he evidently, as of 11 days ago, is doing okay now. So my I don't think he's watching me, or he even knows I exist. But more power to you. I think his name is Steve. More power to you, my friend. And if any of you want to go over and support the other old guy, you wouldn't hurt my feelings. I have a funny feeling that a lot of people that are looking for me and type old carnivore into Google are finding his channel, because that's how I found his channel. But interestingly enough, when I typed old carnivore, my videos came up first because there's a lot more of them. So I encourage him to keep going and come on back. The older the better. I'll gladly give up the title of the oldest guy in the carnivore community on YouTube. Now, I know there's a couple of older people who put out one video every 5 years, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody that actually makes a career out of this. So check them out. Old Carnivore. We old carnivores have to stick together. Where was I in the chat? Jonathan says people are strange. Yes, they are, Jonathan. Tammy Pitar says, what is your personal experience with exercise? Well, Tammy, I just put out a video this past week all about it. I've been at this for 17 months, carnivore 5+ weeks. My knees and legs are 2 weeks for squats. How long did it take you? Well, I never got to the point where I couldn't do squats. I've tried to exercise and walk and maintain my strength my whole life, even though I'm not a strong guy. I was never a strong guy, was never an athlete. When I was in school in the gym, I was the kid that couldn't climb the rope, no matter how hard anybody yelled at me. When I was in the Army, in basic training, I was always the guy that brought up the rear on the runs, because I'm not a runner. I had bad knees even when I was in my late teens and early 20s. They took me in the Army for my brains, not my physical ability, because that's what I did in the armies. I was in a branch of military intelligence that did electronics work and snooping and spying. So, and I can tell you that now, but if I had told you back then, I would have had to kill you. But I had to go through basic training, and it was hell for me. It was hell for me, those obstacle courses and crawling on your belly in the dirt, but you have to do it. And that's just never been me. I'm more athletic now at this age than I have ever been, ever. But I always tried. I was always working out, always going to the gym. And there's a lot of exercises that you can do if you can't do a squat. If you can't squat down, sit down and get up. Sit on the edge of a chair. Sit on the edge of a chair and just stand up and sit down, and stand up and sit down, and do that as many times as you can, and then sit and rest, and keep doing that. And if you do squats, if you have to, and I have to, steady yourself with one hand on something, top of a chair, a counter, for a balance issue. And the reason I have to do that now is that when I had this brain injury 2.5 years ago, and I had the subdural hematoma removed, had my brain surgery, one of the things that really got affected throughout that whole thing was my balance. And it took about a year, and I regained, I would say, more than 95% of my balance. But I will tell you, if I am trying to work, like if I lay down on my back under a table and look up, and try to hold a flashlight and work on something above me, the whole world flips over on me. I still, and that's just going to be like that for the rest of my life. And every time you have some kind of what I consider a serious condition, like having to have a huge clot removed from your brain, which is what a subdural hematoma is, and they have to cut a whole chunk out of your skull to get to it, or you have a stroke, or anything that involves the brain, there's always going to be slightly less than 100% recovery, and that's unfortunate. So I'm stuck with this, and I can do squats without holding on, but I feel a lot more sure of myself. I don't use my arm to help me get up or anything. It's just to know that I can grab onto it if I feel like I'm getting a little off balance, because that squatting up and down, up and down, up and down certainly can disorient you if you've had that problem. And while I was having that problem with that brain issue, I fell down a couple times. That's how bad my balance was. One time when I fell, I actually fell onto a coffee table and I put my arm out to brace myself on the coffee table and hit the edge of the coffee table right on my ribs. And that wasn't pleasant. And I drove myself to the emergency room that night and sat there for 5 hours in pain while they were dealing with all the COVID people. It was a mess. And I tried to tell them, I said, I think I have a problem. I had this accident, and, it was 4 weeks from the accident, and the symptoms of aphasia, the symptoms of balance issues were just getting worse and worse. So I go to the hospital, and I said, I had this 4 weeks ago. I was in this hospital. I had a subarachnoid hemorrhage, a brain bleed. They kept me overnight and sent me home. They never did a CT scan to see if it stopped bleeding the next morning. I guess because I could stand up and walk, they figured I was okay. They sent me home, but over the next 4 to 6 weeks, it got progressively worse. I started having all these strange symptoms. My hand would go numb, my right side, the foot on my right side, my right hand would go numb and then come back. I'd have 3 or 4 minute bouts where I couldn't put words together. Can you imagine me not being able to put words together? And finally, 2 weeks after I fell on my ribs, I was talking to my son on the phone, and I couldn't talk. And that's when he grabbed me and drugged me into the hospital, and the next day I was having brain surgery. So I still to this day wonder, how the hell did I fall, hurt myself, and all they would do for me in the middle of the night at this hospital was a x-ray of my ribs, even though I kept telling them, you need to do a CT scan. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. This brain injury I had 4 weeks ago hasn't healed. They didn't listen. They didn't care. I waited 4 or 5 hours. I finally got so disgusted, I just went home. 2 weeks later, I was having brain surgery. Everybody said, you should sue them. Yeah. You try. Try to find a lawyer. Can't sue somebody. You can't sue a hospital for something like that. No lawyer will take your case because it's too expensive. If it's not a car accident, they can't settle it quick. They're not interested. So all these TV guys, they're useless. So it happens. Stuff like that happens to you. But I think the question was the exercise. And yeah, start doing what you can do. And the first thing that I would recommend is just sitting down in a chair or on the edge of a kitchen chair where you don't sink into it, and just practice raising yourself up with your knees and try to build up. One day do 2 or 3, then work up to 4 and then 5. And when you get really adventurous and you start to feel some strength in your legs, go for it. Also, as you lose weight, it'll get easier. But my personal experience with exercise is it's the best thing in the world. It keeps me going. I do that workout that I put in the video every other day, maybe 3 times a week. So I might let 3 days go by, because you do have to, when you're pushing hard or doing things that tear down your muscles a little bit, you have to give them time to rebuild. You guys are talking to yourselves here. I was culling the fanatics. James Lewis says, unsubscribers sound like my ex-wife and why we went separate ways. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like a divorce, isn't it? Honey, we should unsubscribe to each other. Joe Rogan smokes. Everybody smokes cigars. Everybody smokes cigars. Not just Joe Rogan. Everybody. It is a thing that men used to do. Our world had, and I'm taking this line from a movie called Duets, and it was a great movie. If you've never seen it, it's an obscure movie. The world has lost its finesse. Going out to Morton's Steakhouse. If you live in Chicago, you know what Morton's is. We had one in Orlando, and they had a cigar room, a huge cigar room with huge round tables where 8 or 10 or 12 people could all have dinner. And you were there for 3, 4 hours, and you had no rush, and you ate your dinner. They had fabulous steaks, unbelievable. And then when dinner was over, of course, you'd have dessert, which I don't know what that is anymore. But then the cigars would come out, and maybe some port, Cavassier or brandy or some kind of after-dinner drink. And we'd sit around and we'd talk. And even the women hung in there with us. They didn't mind. But so many of these famous people smoke cigars. It's just something that is a man thing, and they're trying to emasculate us, and I'm not letting them. I just love the cigars. I mean, it's traditional. When a kid is born, the father hands out cigars. It's just a thing. It's a thing that men do. Then we had the big cigar smoking craze about 20 years ago. If you remember that, they were opening cigar bars everywhere, and women didn't want to be left out. They started smoking cigars, and there's still a lot of those women cigar smokers around today. I go into the local cigar shop here where they got a lounge, with a bunch of recliners, and everybody sits around smoking cigars and watching movies on TV or talking to each other, and there's a lot of women still in there because it's so enjoyable. It's just such a relaxing thing to do. So I certainly do not smoke a cigar in public where I know that people are going to be annoyed by it. I smoke it by myself at home where nobody can smell it or have to put up with me. I smoke outside on my porch. I never smoke in my house. I don't like the house to smell like cigar smoke. Never did. I mean, the old man on the wall behind you has a cigar in his mouth, says Naruto-kun. Yes, that old guy, that's my logo. And I picked that logo way back when I started the drone channel for a reason, because he had a cigar in his mouth. Mitch, how many subs now? How many subs now? Right now, I've got... what happened? Foo. Hold on a minute. Oh, goody. There it is. I have got 25,402. So it's been a slow week for subs because I do average about 100 a day. But this has been a strange week this week. And then I put out that video and a couple of my other videos. I don't know if people were out to lunch or something, but the traffic on my videos was much slower than normal until today with this make a steak video. Maybe you guys just like to see me chew. Maybe I need to bring this. I think that might add something to it. I try to be entertaining. I don't know. I don't know if I'm good at it, but I try anyway. Um, I've never been afraid to make a fool of myself to get a laugh. Oh, what happened? I was just reading a thing and it jumped on me. You didn't have COVID that made dollars. Lucia Young says, I don't understand what that means. Martin Derwensky said, ASA. Martin, you know. Martin knows. The ASA stands for Army Security Agency. And yes, Martin, I was in the Army Security Agency, and I was in signal maintenance and crypto. And if you know what the ASA is, you know what that is. And it was great duty. I was in the Army for 4 years. Everybody thanks me for my service. And I almost want to say, you don't have to thank me. It was maybe the best 4 years of my life. I had a ball. I went all over the world. I never saw any combat. Once I got out of basic training, it was all almost like college. And I spent 2 years in Europe. Spent a year in Turkey, which was disgusting but interesting. And I made rank. I wasn't an officer, but I made E6 in like 50. I made the equivalent of staff sergeant. I was in the Army for 15 months, and I was already I was already an NCO, staff sergeant. And when I went overseas, I had a little car, a little MG, and they shipped it over there for me. So they turned 21-year-old Mitch loose in Europe with a British Racing Green MGB convertible, and I saw Europe. I got to tell you, I saw Europe. I went everywhere. On a 3-day pass, you could go anywhere in Europe. The countries in Europe are like the states here. So if I wanted to drive to Scandinavia, let's say, it would be like driving from Florida to North Carolina. I went through Switzerland. I went through Austria. I saw a lot of Switzerland. I went into France. I went to all the Grand Prix races over there. I had a ball. It was great. It was great. Jonathan Bennell, how you doing? Hello all. Joined a little late tonight. Hope everyone is doing well. Well, we seem to be. Oh, we got 100 and some people in here. Good. Viking 442 says they prefer the food porn. I think so. Some of these barbecue channels and chefs channels, they get millions of views on their videos. People like food. At least with the barbecue channels, we're talking about meat. I'm surprised they don't get a lot of heat from the vegans. Maybe they do. That's another thing that really sells videos is anything that's conflict and drama. The great carnivore vegan war. When you put up a YouTube that just makes vegans look stupid, they get a lot of views. People just, I don't know, it's human nature maybe to want to see people in combat. That's why we go to sports events and boxing matches. I like to see one side just beating the hell out of the other, especially if the one that's winning is our favorite. Generally, it's not a very intellectual discussion, though. It's usually some lunatic protesting, painting things white, spilling milk all over the place, yelling that you're murdering animals. And the carnivore is standing there educating the vegan on the legal definition of what murder means. And you've probably seen those videos. He says, you can't murder an animal. It's not, murder is a legal term for killing a human being. You can kill an animal, but you can't murder an animal. It's not murder. But whatever side, it's all political. So whatever side is trying to trump up their case, they're going to pick the most inflammatory language that they can, whether it fits the occasion or not. And they just invariably descend into shouting matches. And personally, I don't watch too many of those. I don't watch too many of those. And I have made a couple where I talked about vegans. But they're as convinced, for whatever reason, they believe the same authorities in their field. Dr. Michael Gregory, Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Furman. These guys have been around for 30, 40 years preaching eating vegetables. And then you guys remember Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne was the selling juicers. And he was like 90 years old and tugging, ships across, swimming, tugging a ship behind him across the English Channel. The guy was an amazing athlete, but his whole deal was juicing. And, we've learned that absolutely the worst thing that you can do, the worst thing a human being can put in their stomach is to juice vegetables and juice fruits. Because all you're getting, they claim you're getting all these nutrients, but what you're doing is you're concentrating all the anti-nutrients, the poisons, the lectins, and the sugar, and throwing away all the fiber. And then the same people come and tell you how you have to eat more fiber. And we end up with a nation full of people whose digestive systems don't work anymore, because we're not supposed to eat stuff that the body wants to get rid of as bad as it wants to get rid of fiber. Rudo Kuhn is laughing. Copy and paste the link in your browser and it should come up. You're welcome, Sean. And you guys are all... Oh, I think I'm at the bottom of the chat. Juicing is the dumbest, I won't say the dirty word, out there. Dr. Ken Berry. Oh, if Ken Berry said shit, then I can say it. Yeah, juicing is the dumbest shit out there. It's true. It is so true. And then this whole supplement industry started. And look where that's gotten. Just look at, go into any drugstore, Walgreens, and just walk up and down the supplement aisles and look how many different supplements. Who the hell can keep up with all that stuff? You have to be a rocket scientist to figure out, with all the hype and all the propaganda and all the infomercials for all the things that they're telling you are so healthy for you. How can you keep up with that? How can you formulate what you're going to do every day? That's the greatest thing about this lifestyle. It's a no-brainer. What are you going to do today? Well, I'm going to eat meat. How's that? What meat? Doesn't matter. I'm going to eat meat. I'm going to have bacon and eggs, steak, hamburger, chicken wings, ribeye juice. There you go. MK says ribeye juice. I don't know if I'm into that, but I mean, even if you are old and can't chew, I would still rather take a ribeye and put it in a blender and suck it through a straw than eat this crap that they're proposing. Thank you, my friend Tammy. Appreciate that. Very nice of you. No question, just a thumbs up and what looks like a fireworks. cool. Very cool. And where were we? John Busick, what do you think about whole house water filter looking into a reverse osmosis system? Well, yeah, I guess. I just, for me, I drink these bottled water from Italy. It's probably comes out of some hose spigot over there in Italy. But I don't sweat. I try not to sweat the small stuff or the little stuff. I'm not a germaphobe. I I can't be that concerned. Got a comment today about on that air fryer video of mine about that that nonstick coating is poison. It says poison. Shouldn't be using any of that. Well, these newer nonstick coatings are not Teflon. My frying pan is ceramic and it's not at all poisonous. And my answer to this guy, I didn't want to hide him for that one silly comment, but I said to him, well, use parchment paper because they make these liners. They're cheap. These liners for different air fryers, and they're parchment paper, and they have air holes in them so that the air can circulate through them. But the food never touches the actual grill. Makes it easier to clean up, for sure. And if you're that worried about it, I mean, exactly how much of that stuff are we going to get in, and how long do we think we're going to live anyway? What are we saving it for? Maybe if I was 30 years old, I'd pay more attention to it, but I'm not. I know how many, optimally, best case of everything, the most number of years I might have left. And I don't think in those number of years I have left, I can, if I use my air fryer once or twice a week, that I'm going to poison myself with the nonstick coating on the inside of the air fryer. Because the nonstick coating isn't where the cooking is being done, generally. It's the hot air that's doing the cooking. Anyway, I can't take that stuff seriously. I did get another one of these comments today. I hope you don't get bored with me railing about this, but it's interesting. It's an interesting look into human nature, what people actually say. I got a comment that, oh wow, what was that comment? I had it. I was just ready to tell you. I had it. Senior moment. Lack of sleep last night. It will come to me. Maybe. But it was just as stupid. Oh, it was. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember. I can't believe you touched the meat with your bare hands, and then you touched the kitchen counter, and then you touched something else, and then you touched something else. That is so unsanitary. There is meat bacteria all over the place in your kitchen. I mean, seriously. Has this woman ever eaten in a restaurant? If she's ever eaten in a restaurant, she needs to take a look at what goes on in a restaurant kitchen. And I owned a restaurant. I know exactly what goes on in a restaurant. Do you think that those people who are working in a restaurant aren't touching everything in sight, including themselves in places that, you think there's a reason why they put up signs in the bathrooms that say employees must wash hands? Do you think that the employees in those restaurants go into the bathroom, see that sign, and have the fear of God put in them that they better wash their hands? No. I'm sorry, sweetie. When I cook, I'm not worried about any bacteria from anything because I have an immune system. The reason I have an immune system is because I've exposed myself to this bacteria in the past, and that's how it's supposed to work. Another thing, and I didn't tell her all this. I don't remember how I answered that, but not courteously. Another thing is I live alone. I don't cook for anybody but me. Nobody else eats in my house but me. Who can get hurt if I touch meat with my bare hands and then touch the counter? Who can get hurt? Only me. Have I ever been sick from that? No. Then I don't worry about it. But I get those, and I get a lot of those kind of comments. So I made that one video. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago where it was kind of I was doing a put on those for those people. Every 2 seconds I washed my hands. I kept wiping everything down. I kept getting brand new clean dish towels out. I was using paper towels like they were gone out of style. I was the cleanest. And somebody wrote me a comment and said, you really don't need to wash your hands that often. And I threw up my hands. I said, I can't win no matter what I do. I just can't win. There's only one thing that I can do, and that is turn the comments off, because I can do that. You've probably seen videos that basically say, no comments are allowed. I could do that, but I don't want to do that. Half the fun that I have being on doing this YouTube thing is interacting with you people, and reading your comments and answering your comments and having the Thursday night live stream with the private group, talking to you in person. I like that. It would be very lonely for me to not have those comments. So you have to take the good with the bad. People tell me that I need to get tougher skin. And it isn't that I really take these things personally. They really don't irritate me that much. I don't, my blood pressure doesn't go up from them. Most of the time I just laugh at them. It's the fact that there are people on this planet that are just screwing life up for all the rest of us, and there's no call for that. Some of those people need to be somehow removed from the planet. Maybe we could make them astronauts or something. Any questions here? We take Dr. Oh, you take the Julie Bush says that she takes the Keto Chow minerals, the ones that Ken Berry helped design. That's probably not a bad idea. I've never tasted them, but some people tell me that imagine the worst tasting thing that you could ever imagine, and then think of something twice as bad, and that's what those things taste like. Hi, Mitch. I've been watching you for a while. This is Tracy Clark. Really love your content. Oh, man, Tracy, you're my new best friend. Let me get your comment and put it up there. Where is it? Here it is. Oh, yeah. Keep them coming, folks. Hi, Mitch. I've been watching you for a while. Really love your content. Keep enjoying your cigars, coffee, and meat. You inspire many, many people. Thanks for what you do. You see, somebody loves me. I just can't. When I'm aggravated at not just the people, not just the comments, but some of the stunts that YouTube itself pulls to make it harder for us to do what we do. And I say, that's it. This is the last straw. They just keep moving the goalpost on us, making us work harder and harder for less. And whenever I say, that's it, I'm done, I've had enough, I get a comment like this, and it's all gone. I feel good again. So I love those comments. Thank you so much for them. I really appreciate that. Trailer Trash Tim. Trailer Trash Tim says, Yo, Mitch just polished off a ribeye. Now sitting by a campfire, puffing a Churchill. I envy you, Tim. I envy you. Because it, honest to God, it just doesn't get any better than that. Especially if it's a nice warm evening. I don't know where you are. Mixed martial nutrition. I avoid nonstick unless it's ceramic ceramic Teflon is terrible unless it's ceramic. Oh, Teflon is terrible. Yeah, that's what I use in my frying pans where I make my bacon and eggs is a German from a company called Mueller. And that stuff is absolutely no forever chemicals in it, no plastics, nothing. It's just nonstick, works good. I don't even need a nonstick pan because I always cook my bacon first and cook my eggs in the bacon grease, so I don't need. It's just a nice pan. It's easy to clean. I hardly ever even wash it. People, I'm sure I would get nasty comments about how unsanitary that is, but I'll tell you what. After I get done cooking my eggs, whatever bacon grease is in the pan are all soaked up by the eggs. So after I take my omelet out, that pan effectively has only a very, very, very thin coating of bacon grease. And I take 2 or 3 paper towels and I just wipe it out real good. And I leave that coating of bacon grease on there. And that's kind of like a sealer. And I do the same thing with my carbon steel pan. It'll never rust because you keep adding to the polymerized seasoning that cooks on. The more you use it, same thing with a cast iron pan, the more you use it, the better it becomes, the more seasoned it becomes. And you certainly don't want to scrub it out with any abrasive thing or steel wool. And if you get a big buildup in there after a while, you can use a chainmail scrubber and then re-season the pan. You can take it almost down to silver again, but not a good idea. And once those things get seasoned, they're great. They're almost non-stick. And I can sear up a steak in butter in that debayer pan, or debayer for those of you that pronounce it American. And I take the steak out, and most of the time I'll just pour the butter on top of the steak, and then I'll just take a couple of paper towels after it's cooled off a little bit, before it completely cools, and just wipe it out. And wipe it real good, and almost like you're polishing it with whatever tallow or butter or whatever fat you used is still in there, and just set it on the stovetop. And it's ready to go for the next time. So when I did that steak video today, it took me 30 seconds to clean that carbon steel pan. And that was the only utensil that I actually used. I ate it on the wooden cutting board for the effect in the video. I don't normally eat my steaks on the cutting board with that big knife, but it's fun to do in the videos. So I had to wash the cutting board, but normally I don't even have to wash that. Normally I have one plate when I'm done. The only thing you have to be careful of, and I keep warning people, is don't grab onto the handle of that steel pan when you're pulling it out of the oven without a mitt on, because I can only say, and I'm embarrassed to say, that that was a lesson that I learned the hard way. I didn't take it out of the oven without a mitt, but when it was sitting on the stovetop and I went to take the steak out of the pan, I grabbed the handle of the pan with my left hand, and I didn't hang on to it too long, but my hand was sore for a couple of days. I got a little burn on there. I kept putting some ointment on it, but you got to be careful. But you do that once, you'll never forget it again. You will never, ever forget it again. We wouldn't all be here if we didn't love you, Mitch. Wendy, thank you so much. Thank you. Lynette Pinson, coming in late, loves me too. I feel the love. I really do. And I love you all back. Kathleen, a new bride back in 1969. I got an entire set of club aluminum cookware. Most popular gift then at 72.8 years. Cannot worry about it now. Yeah. And that's another thing. I get people chastising me for even going near aluminum foil, let alone cooking with it. You know, I have video about how I cook my ribs, and I do that about once a month. I go out and I buy one of these maybe 6 or 7 pound things of 2 big racks of baby back ribs. I take them and I just take a half a sheet pan and I cover the bottom with foil, and then I put a cooling rack on top and put the ribs on the cooling rack, meat side down. I salt the top first, then I turn it over and put it on meat side down, leave the membrane on. Don't put any foil around it. There's no foil touching the meat at all. Put it in the oven. The meat is suspended up above the foil. The foil is there for only one reason, and that is so I don't have to scrub out the sheet pan. I can just roll it up and take all that grease and goo and throw it in the trash can. I don't have to clean up anything. That's the main thrust of so many of the things that I do in cooking for carnivore, is minimize the cleanup. When I see these vegetarians and vegans, all you have to do is just watch one of their recipes. They have 30 or 40 different things that they have to put in to one dish, especially if it's some kind of a big salad, between all the different plants that they have to use, and they have to prepare each one. And you don't even see all that work, because when they start their video, they've got all of those little bowls all laid out. You've all seen those things. They've got all these little bowls laid out all over the place, already pre-measured with all the pre-prepared vegetable things. And the cleanup, the preparation and the cleanup to make a salad is absurd. It's a day's work. And they're still not helping themselves. They're still not doing anything healthy. They're convinced it is, but I'm exactly the opposite. I go into the kitchen and I see it. I keep it clean. I can't, I'm not one of these people that can have chaos around me, because of my whole entire life was chaotic with all the businesses, and I've told my life story, and I'm not obsessive compulsive, but I do feel better when things are orderly. So I try to keep things orderly, and I see a clean kitchen, and my first thought is, how can I accomplish this task I'm about to do without affecting any of this cleanliness around here? How can I come out the other side of this with only a few minutes worth of cleanup? And that's where I came up with so many of these different techniques that I use to prepare food. The most important thing is that the food has to be prepared as good as it can be, and it has to taste good. It has to be a good recipe. But I kept my bacon and eggs, for example, makes no mess whatsoever. I make bacon and eggs. By the time I'm done and I pull the egg out of the pan is clean. I made a point of that in the video, because I kept getting all kinds of heat about people telling me, oh, Mitch, do you like my voice that I use for ridiculous commenters? Oh, Mitch, you should make your bacon in the air fryer. It comes out so much better. I'm making 4 or 5 slices of bacon. Why do I need to grease up an air fryer, clean all the different parts and pieces inside after I'm done, soak them and scrub them? And why do I need to do all that when I can fry the bacon in a pan? It actually, is, as far as I'm concerned, comes out just as good or better. Then use my egg as a cleaning pad for whatever grease is left in the pan. And I usually pour about 3/4 of it off, because I save all that bacon grease. And when I'm done, I got a plate and a fork and that Pyrex thing that I beat my eggs in to wash. That's it. Cleanup takes me 30 seconds. It's crazy. I never make enough dishes to ever run the dishwasher. And I've got it down to such a science now that I spend almost no time preparing food. I do maybe an hour when I get back from a big haul at Sam's Club where I bought ribs and I bought chicken wings and I have to cut the wings up, cut the tips off, cut the flat off the drum and package them up for the freezer, or even hamburger. I used to buy the hamburger in those big tubes, 10 pounds, and cut it up and put it in bags. No, I discovered the Wagyu and the grass-fed at Sam's. It comes 1 pound in a nice vacuum-sealed package that will stay safely refrigerated for 2 to 3 weeks. Hamburger, there's no need to even freeze it for that. You can just leave it in the refrigerator. You'll eat it before that. I eat ground beef at least every other day. And the 3-packs. So I did a couple review videos on those 3-packs of ground beef, and it's good tasting ground beef. And to another commenter that I had, who told me that he would never buy that stuff because they put pink slime in it. There's no pink slime in this ground beef. It's ground beef. I looked all over the label for the words pink slime. They don't put anything in it. They just grind up the beef. They got big machines that package them in these vacuum sealed things, and they're fresh. Probably never been frozen. They turn over a hell of a lot about that. It costs $1 a pound more than the cheap stuff. What's $1? If it's going to make a whole meal for you, it's still a cheap meal. So I can have a pound of that for $5. I can make 5 strips of bacon and 5 eggs for $4 and use the labeled pasture-raised eggs and the Wright's thick bacon and make a great meal out of it. And I've been doing this for 1 year and over 1 year and 7 months now without any deviation. Not one meal different than just the beef, the bacon and eggs, once a week some fish and chicken, and once a month I'll have ribs, and that's it. And I have never felt better in my life. So to me, that indicates I'm getting what I need. Now, if I start feeling bad, or if I start, something's happening, and because even vegans feel good for the first year and a half they're on the vegan diet. Because our bodies do store up almost everything we need. We store it in our fat-soluble vitamins. That's why they're fat-soluble. They're stored in fat. We store everything. We can. It might take us 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years to run out of a particular vitamin if we're not getting enough of it. So we'll see. And if that happens to me, and I find out there's something deficient in what I'm doing, I'll correct it, and I'll let everybody know. That's how it should be. I should never hide the fact that there is something missing. I started, I got my blood work. I'm starting to consciously get more sun, and I'm taking a small vitamin D3 K2. And in a few months, I'll have another vitamin D blood test drawn, and I'll see if it came up. I'm not deficient in it, but I'm on the low end of the range. I'd like it to come up a little bit. So I'm addressing that, and I do take the electrolytes. So I can't see any other deficiency. The leg cramps that I had are gone. They've never come back. So I think that the electrolytes are fine for that, getting potassium and magnesium, and I certainly get enough salt. Tammy says, just keep it simple. I love that. Yeah, it's easy cooking. Unless, cooking is your hobby. I've had a couple of women, maybe even men, tell me they miss their foodies. That cooking was a passion and a hobby, and they miss all that prepping food and stuff like that. I can imagine it's possible. Not me. Not me. Okay, he says he likes deeper color yolks. Yeah, I found at the Sam's Club pasture raised eggs. They're not the most, interestingly, they're not the most expensive eggs that they sell. What they call cage free. And I look at all of these labels and slogans like organic. I look at all that stuff with disbelief anyway. It's all marketing. And if you ever want to really be disgusted, look up what the food labeling guidelines say in order to call something pasture raised, what you have to have, or cage free, or free range, or any one of the other names they came up for these things. And the dichotomy with these pasture raised eggs, even though they're brown and you get 18 of them in a package for $5. So they're not that expensive. They're different shades of brown too. It's not like they're painting them or anything or dyeing them. They're some of them are darker brown, some are light. Some of them, the yolks are yellow orange. Sometimes you'll get them, they're more yellowish than orange, a little bit lighter. Depends on when you buy them or what particular package. So you know that they're coming from a variety of different chickens, but they taste great and they seem to be good quality. But it does say right on the outside of the, well, you know what? I take that back. When I first started buying them, it said vegetarian, 100% vegetarian fed on a egg carton that was called pasture raised. Now I'm not much of a farmer or rancher, but I do know that when chickens are out in a pasture, they're not eating 100% vegetarian food. They're eating worms. They're like any other bird. They're eating grubs and worms, and they may eat some berries and nuts, but primarily they're carnivores. And so I say to myself, well, that was, the marketing department's idea to put that on there. But it didn't make sense. And sure enough, the last time I went and bought them, I looked at the carton and it didn't say vegetarian fed on it anymore. So somebody probably brought that up to them and said, this doesn't make any sense here, fellas. You can't call a chicken pasture raised and claim he's 100% vegetarian fed, because we're not feeding him. If he's a pasture raised chicken, he's feeding himself. But then they have the rules for labeling that say, in order to call a chicken cage free, for example, if they're being raised in one of these big factories, hundreds of thousands of square feet, as long as there's the equivalent of like a cat door, that flips in and out at the far end of the building somewhere, and the chicken has the freedom, if it wants, to wander across the half a mile of warehouse building to get to that little trap door. And outside of that trap door, they have a small patch of fenced-in grass that they can label their eggs as cage-free. How many chickens are actually heading out that door every day? Who knows? Because the chickens are being fed chicken feed. Good news is, just the same with cattle, even though you feed chickens grain, the grain is not in the chicken you eat. The grain is turned by the chicken into fat and other things and energy. So, yeah, maybe it's not quite as healthy as an animal that's free range, but it's certainly healthier than a donut. Let's see. Kathleen says her husband loves the Wagyu. Rosie found $3 a dozen for local farm eggs. Oh, Rosie, you're right up the road from me. I should probably drive up there to New Smyrna Beach and go buy eggs from your farmer. Cage free means they're in a giant barn. Yes, exactly. Viking 442. Sandra McDonald. Sandra McDonald says, where was it? Banning cage raised egg farming has made eggs hard to get in New Zealand. Yeah. I heard a couple of people tell me how expensive the food was in New Zealand. I was surprised to hear that, especially meat. I thought they were exporting it. There was just more meat than they could eat. Maybe not. Andrew H. is here. White shell eggs come from hens with white feathers, while brown shell eggs are produced by hens with brown feathers. I never thought of that. Makes sense. The pasture-raised chickens are being kept inside for 3 years now in the Netherlands because bird flu, Oh, yeah, we had that here. Egg prices like quadrupled for a while. Google says that eggs that are not white have pigments deposited on them as the eggs travel through the hen's oviduct. Well, I would not doubt that. I don't really care. I also read somewhere that just because the yolk of your eggs is more orangey than yellow doesn't mean it's any healthier, because they actually have feed. They have feed now that actually the chicken eats that feed and it darkens the yolk in their eggs. It's not any difference nutritionally. It's just cosmetic. It's like they used to have, I don't know if you all remembered, they used to have pills, suntan pills. And people would take these pills and they would turn orange. Their whole body would turn orange from them. It just deposited that stuff in their pigment, in their skin cells. And that wasn't around very long. So you guys are all discussing eggs now. We've gotten to that. I'm making a video here shortly, and sometime this week, maybe next week. I don't know how popular it's going to be, but I want to do it anyway. And the title, and I don't want to give it all away right now, but the title of this video is going to be, and this is not the wording because it's not catchy enough. Basically, they're poisoning us from cradle to grave. And I've been doing a lot of looking into not only baby formula, which they give us on the way in, but things like Ensure that they give us on the way out. I have here ingredient nutrition facts, one from baby formula and one from Ensure. I'm not going to read these to you now. If you have never seen what's in this stuff, it will absolutely blow you away. And what they're doing to our children and grandchildren with their advice and the crap that they're selling to feed these children, or try to give older people nutrition, is criminal. It is criminal. If people understood what we understand about grains, seed oils, and sugar, that'd be a revolution against the food industry. Problem is, people don't know, and they're not allowed to find out, and they're not curious enough to find out on their own, because that's too much work. It's just so much easier to lay it off on your doctor. Well, my doctor told me this. I should drink this Ensure. He's a doctor. He knows. It is absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal. And not only what's in this stuff, but what isn't in this stuff that needs to be. So I'm going to make a video about that. And I think I'm going to title it something like "They're Killing Us from Cradle to Grave." And we all know that what we get in between is poison, especially with this plant-based movement. But I really hadn't thought about it in those terms, that on the way in, they poison you, and on the way out, they poison you and addict you at the same time, too. So it's a double whammy for the people making money off of this stuff. Anyway, that's coming. I have a lot of thoughts for a lot of different things that I want to talk about. But it appears that y'all want to see Mitch in the kitchen. Now I know what a housewife feels like. You know, I understand. Oh, the Carnivore Odyssey is here. I wish you would tell me your first name. You all know who the Carnivore Odyssey is. Australia. She's very entertaining. I enjoy watching her. She watches my videos. She's here in the house, but I tried to find out what her name is, her first name, and I don't see it anywhere. Marowin? Carnivore in 24 is telling me Marowin. You mean Marilyn? You put M-A-R-I-W-Y in it. Her name is Merwin. Kay's name is Mary. The Mayawin. Ah, I never heard that name. I'll try to remember that. Mayawin. Did I pronounce it right? Mayawin. Call her Odd for short, says Rosie Red. Here, I love this, man. This is great. This is great. I know this guy can't be a vegan because this would be busted on him too much. Eat your landscape. Now you've all heard me saying that to people. I say, I refer to vegans as people that eat their landscape, and that's great, great, great. I love it. I love it. I love some of these clever names. It's a Welsh name, says Maiwin. It's Welsh. My dad was Welsh. Yes, you said it right. Rosie, you are so right. I'm an odd one for sure. Well, I wasn't gonna insult you with that, but okay. And if you don't recognize, that's her. And I watched a video of her latest video today, and she's a hoot. She's a hoot. She's got a good sense of humor. She's very clever and entertaining, and she talks about what she's going through. And good to see you here. Good to see you here. Eat your landscape is full carnivore. I eat my cows, pigs, and chicken. It's good for you, man. Good. I love it. I love it. John P. says, oh, your mom was recently, and I told you all the story once or twice about what they tried to feed me when I was in the hospital for my brain surgery. I can't believe it. I had to almost bribe the girl that delivered the food to bring me some real food. And the problem is this, and this is what you have to watch out for. Being a carnivore, normally our cholesterols are elevated, as I think they should. But again, I'm not a doctor. Don't take my advice about that. But my cholesterol is screaming high. My LDL is 340. How the hell I'm still living, working out, existing on evil red meat, and pushing 77. 7 weeks, guys. I'll be 77 in 7 weeks. I am going to have a hell of a birthday party here. So I hope you all come. I might even get a birthday hat. I don't know, but 77, double sevens. Be a lucky number in Vegas. But how the hell I'm still living with the energy I have, it's beyond me. I'm a medical marvel. I'm telling you, I must be. I must be against all odds. It's nuts. Carnivore in 24 says, not gonna lie, excited to interview her Thursday. Oh, you're interviewing Mayawan. Okay. Cool. Cool. Kathleen says, insurer's garbage. It's not even good enough. My garbage is more nutritious than that stuff. I'll do the video, but it is unbelievable, and they get away with that stuff. But when you go to the hospital these days, if you have high cholesterol, they have a person called a hospitalist. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if they have them everywhere, but here in Florida, we have hospitalists. And if you go in through the emergency room, you're assigned a hospitalist. The hospitalist, and you try saying that 3 times fast, their job is to evaluate you real quick. They look at all your initial blood work, whatever tests, imaging you had, and they do a quick write-up on you. And they tell the hospital, pretty much, any special care that you need. And they decided for me, when I came in with my head injury and needing brain surgery, that the only special need that I had was that I was going to die from a heart attack within hours because of my cholesterol, and I needed to be put on what they call a cardiac diet, which is 0 fat, 0 salt, low sodium, no fat. What's left? Sugar. Now, the first meal I ate was breakfast the first morning I was in there. The day, and I didn't eat breakfast because I was having the surgery, and you can't eat before surgery. So I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I was in there the whole day. I didn't eat until the day after my surgery, and the first meal I ate was the breakfast they brought me the morning after my surgery. And it consisted of a bowl of Special K, a carton of skim milk, a glass of orange juice, dry white toast, a little cup, a little restaurant style thing of margarine, and a pastry with a sugar coating on it. That was the healthy cardiac diet breakfast that they brought me the next morning after I hadn't eaten in a day and a half and I had brain surgery. And that was going to nourish me. And that breakfast, when I calculated it out, was 100% carbohydrate. I don't think there was anything, maybe the seed oils in the margarine they brought, there wasn't anything in there that wasn't sugar. And that hospital, charging God knows how many thousands of dollars a day to keep me in there, with all their medical knowledge and wisdom, fantastic machines and imaging equipment, millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of this stuff, and all of these highly trained professionals, most of whom, as an aside, were 50 to 100 pounds overweight. In their wisdom, the healthiest thing for me to eat was sugar. I threw a fit. I mean, I actually ready to get up and walk out of there. So I said to the little girl that brought the food, I said, I can't eat this. This stuff will kill me. I said, get me some bacon and eggs and a hamburger patties And she did. She went back to the kitchen. She came up almost like stealth. She comes sneaking in my room like, looking to see if anybody's watching her because, she didn't want to get convicted of murdering this old guy with the high cholesterol. And if it wasn't so sad and sick and stupid and harmful to people, it would have been funny, absolutely funny, but it wasn't funny. It was absolutely absurd. So yes, if you go into the hospital, this is what you can expect because the hospitals are mandated to follow the U.S. government dietary guidelines, as are the schools, the military, the prisons, pretty much everything. In my health spa, the gym where I used to work out, is part of a group down here called Health First. I have my own affectionate name for them, but they have a complex with the hospital, and right next door is this huge, gorgeous gym. I mean, you talk about Cadillac of gyms. The locker rooms, they have huge indoor Olympic-sized swimming pools. They have saunas and steam rooms and showers. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Big locker rooms. And then you go in and you go upstairs and they've got every kind of free weight machine. I mean, it is something. It's something to see. And with my Medicare supplementary plan that I have through Health First, I get a free membership in this gym. So I was going to that gym up until I decided just to do it at home because I got tired of the crowds of people in there. And I was hurting my joints on some of the things I was doing. When you walk into you walk in right in the front door, and they used to have a juice bar where they would sell smoothies and all that other kind of crap. There's juice. All they had was everything was just pure sugar, but that was their healthy stuff. And they have a little cafe type area right in the front door where you can sit down there. But because of COVID, they had to they closed the juice bar where they would make everything out of bananas and blueberries and strawberries. They have smoothies, all that kind of shit, which is pure sugar. I don't care if it's all natural, it's still sugar. And they would charge a lot of money for that stuff too. So they had to close it, but they still left the tables there, and they put two vending machines in. One vending machine is Coca-Cola, Pepsi, orange juice, apple juice, 100% sugar in all the drinks. And the other vending machine is the candy and the crackers and the snacks, and again, all 100% sugar. And I look at that, and I can't be the only one who has to say to himself, this is something that is selling health to the American public, and there's not a thing that they do in here that's healthy or that they sell. And I have the same thought whenever I walk into a Walgreens drugstore. Walgreens sells more crap and sugar than a 7-Eleven in some of these cases. It's crazy, the aisles of candy and the freezers of ice cream and all of that sugary crap and prescription drugs that people don't need. And I say, this is a pharmacy. I grew up in Philadelphia. My father owned a drugstore. I worked in a drugstore from the time I could push a broom at 5 years old. Even back then, it was ingrained. He had a Coke machine. He had a soda fountain. He had one of these old-fashioned soda fountains at his drugstore where you'd have the big 5-gallon tubs of ice cream down in the freezer and the scoops, and you'd make milkshakes and egg creams, and all that stuff was custom made, ice, sundaes and all that stuff. And a little counter with the little round padded stools like you see in the 1950s movies and diners. So that was my dad's corner drugstore. And even in that tiny little drugstore, he sold more crap and candy and shit than he did anything else. So we've been doing this for a long, long time, and we are just, we think that's just life. That's how it's supposed to be. So no wonder people think we're strange. Jennifer, how you doing? Jennifer, TX Carnivore, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. She says, juice is diabetes in a bottle. Candy is diabetes in a bag. It is. It is. And if anybody that didn't know what carnivore meant was reading this chat, they would think we all just escaped from somewhere. Yeah, it's nuts. It absolutely is. Wow, it's 9:45. Holy mackerel. But it's really only 8:45, see? I wonder how long I can keep this up. Today I set the clock in my car. It was the last clock I had to set. Figuring out how to set it is as technical as I am. With this two big screens and everything is menus and touch screens. I found it and managed to get it done. Walgreens, not okay. We're the nutty ones. Yeah, it's crazy. But meanwhile, I don't see that we're dropping like flies. Do you? I don't see us coming on here saying, I don't hear any of us saying, I did this and this bad thing happened to me. Once in a while you'll get a troll doing that, but most of us that are here are finding that if we can stick to this, we're doing pretty good. I'm still a proponent of the fact that the carb addiction is the problem. The major problem, and I'm going to keep talking about that, even though a lot of people don't. They mention it in passing. That's the main theme of my channel. It's what I had to overcome in my life to fix things, was figure out a way to handle the addiction. It's why, excuse me, it's why keto didn't work for me, and why the recidivism in the keto world is so high. Keto, and I don't knock keto. Keto can be good for people. Maybe the people that can just have one drink a day and not want more. There aren't too many carb addicts like that. But keto, comparing it to alcohol addiction, would be like telling an alcoholic that he can have a half an ounce of alcohol a day and expect him to quit drinking. Except the sugar's more addictive. And since we're all sugar addicts, because we were brought up as sugar addicts, and if anytime you guys allow me to get into the really deep weeds about the biochemistry and the evolutionary history of sugar addiction, without a doubt the oldest and first addictive substance that our ancestors ever encountered. It's only curable. And this is what I finally found out. And people don't want to hear this, because they still want to be able to have all the foods that they love. And all the foods that they love are the foods they're addicted to. Is complete 100% and total abstinence. It's rough, it's harsh, but it cures you of the addiction. And we're the only people, the people that, I don't want to call us hardcore, because I do drink my coffee and I smoke my cigars, but neither one of those things contain sugar. So my rules and my ground rules aren't so much that it has to be all meat. My ground rule is It's okay if it doesn't trigger your addiction or cause you any kind of other ill effects. So if you can be on keto and not take any of your little carb allotment in a day and use it for anything that tastes sweet, then keto would work. So people who are on keto eating broccoli, maybe some cabbage. I don't know anybody who's addicted to broccoli though, or Brussels sprouts, because they're addicted to sugar. So if you can get by with that, then I think a lot of people could be fine on it. But if you're a sugar addict, and I would hazard a guess that 80% of the American public is addicted to sugar because they can't stop eating it. They cannot sustain any lifestyle where they know and practice the fact that they will never eat sugar or taste anything sweet again. That's like a death sentence from a jury for so many people because their whole lives are built around the celebration of food. Food is a reward. Food is a party. Food is my birthday. Food is a date. Food is a baseball game. It's all about the food. Tell somebody they could never eat that again ever in their life. Hey, you want to be a carnivore? They'll go, what are you, crazy? I can't do that. That'll never work. But what you find out is once you've cured the addiction, the food doesn't matter anymore. Your whole physiology changes. That's the most amazing thing that I think about that happened to me. I am perfectly content like this. I don't feel not deprived in any manner. I don't envy somebody when I see him eating something that contains sugar. I don't put anything in my mouth that has any kind of a sweet taste, and I don't miss it. I love the food that I eat. It tastes great. It's very satisfying, and it satisfies my hunger, and I can stop and not want more. I have that Jones that I had has gone away, and the only way to get rid of it for most of us is a zero carb, zero sweet taste diet, which sounds draconian at first, but you get through the first 2 weeks or month or maybe 6 weeks for some people, and you find not only is it not draconian, it's a pleasure. It's a freedom you never had from food. And that's where I live right now, and that's the message I'm trying to get out to people. Carnivore in 24. Question. I see. If you put QQQ in front of it, I'll see it. So I take it that you don't even use artificial sweeteners. Monk fruit would love your opinion. No, I will not put anything in my mouth that tastes sweet. We taste sweet for a reason. There is a physiological reason for every sense that we have that tells our body chemistry what to do, tells our hormones what to do. The sweet taste triggers the cephalic phase response. The cephalic phase response is a body getting ready to metabolize sugar, to get it in the cells for energy, convert it to triglycerides, and get it to the fat cells. So what happens is that it's important for the human body to regulate blood sugar, or gets too high, you're in a coma. Gets too low, you die of hypoglycemia. The body regulates the blood sugar by getting it out of the blood. What does it do with it? It crams it into blood cells. Into cells, rather, not blood cells, but it crams it into the body's cells, and the body uses it to make energy. The cells make energy with it. They make ATP. So you eat this sweet thing. It signals your body sugar is imminent, because in our DNA, in our evolutionary history over millions of years, nothing tasted sweet that wasn't sugar of some kind. Fructose, sucrose, lactose, galactose, whatever it was, the sweet taste is only to signal the body that it needs to prepare for sugar. So what happens right away? You taste that sweetness, and your pancreas predoses your bloodstream with insulin to get ready to handle the sugar that's coming, because sugar digests rapidly. Sugar, especially when you get it in a processed food where it's been ground down to microscopic powder, it's just instant sugar into the bloodstream. High glycemic load, you know what that is. You got all this insulin now. And insulin what it does is, its job is to signal the cells to open the GLUT4 transports and start bringing sugar into the cells to get it out of the bloodstream, so we don't, have a coma here, diabetic coma. So the insulin is in your bloodstream and it starts doing its job. It doesn't know that there's no sugar coming, that sweet taste was just some evil chemist's way of, or some oddball food that happened to taste a little sweet, like monk fruit, which still has some carbs in it, or stevia, or those things. It's expecting sugar. When the sugar doesn't come, what happens is your blood sugar starts to get low. Because the insulin is cramming it into the cells to make room for all this sugar that you're supposedly eating that has given you this sweet taste. And now what happens is, when your blood sugar gets low, all kinds of other alarm bells go off. And you better eat some sugar or you're going to die. Because if you don't eat sugar, you're going to become hypoglycemic, because your blood sugar is getting too low because of the insulin took it out of your bloodstream and the sugar never came. Your subconscious mind starts generating these cravings for sugar that are almost an emergency. And you've seen people whose blood sugar gets low, they have to have a candy bar. And diabetics will do this. This happens to diabetics if they misdose insulin. If they inject a little too much insulin and don't eat enough carbs, they're going to be passing out wanting a candy bar. And they generally have to have one in sight, something that has sugar. So it's the reason why all of these fat people are drinking diet sodas and can't understand why they're not losing weight. Because it triggers their cravings. And they're helpless to fight. We're helpless to fight these cravings. We have no control consciously over these things. Anybody who thinks they have willpower is crazy. I've met so many of them in my life. Oh, I can do this. If I don't want to eat it, I'm not going to eat it. Yeah, right. Okay. It's the same thing with a drug user and an alcoholic. I can stop anytime I want. Well, no, you can't, because it's a biologic need that's out of your control. And all we do in our conscious mind is make excuses. Well, you've heard it. You've done it. I've done it. Well, okay. One more time and I'll start dieting again on Monday. How many times have we had that one more time when it comes to eating these crap foods that we're addicted to? The only way to cure that addiction is to switch your biology to fat burning and stop eating those things. And after a couple of weeks or a month, the cravings will reduce to the point where you can handle them. And you'll start enjoying the new foods, and your body will thank you for it and reward you for all this good nutrition you're giving it, that it's needed all along, and it's been sending you all these signals that you need to keep eating and eating and eating, because that shit that I need to build these proteins just isn't in the shit you've been eating. All of that driving push to get you to keep consuming stuff in a desperate attempt for your body to get the full range of nutrients that it needs to do its job. Once you're eating the meat, it's all in there. Your whole being changes. It is a miraculous change that you have to experience to believe. Otherwise, nobody would believe it. And I think the more you understand the whys, the real whys, the actual mechanical things that are going on and chemical things that are going on, it reinforces your belief that this is the right thing. And then when you can get over that hump of it, but most people don't make it the first 30 days, and that's just a sad fact. Most people don't make it through the first 30. I know, because I've got children who've been trying this for years and can't make it past the first 30 days. And it's sad. And they're tired of hearing me telling them why. So I try to tell you guys, but you're not interested as much in that kind of information as you are in how I cook a steak. So I'll make one for you and one for me. Guys, it's 10 o'clock, man. 10 o'clock. And that makes it about 2 hours. If I missed any questions, I apologize. I am, and it's not that I'm getting so tired, it's just that this constant, nonstop talking, you start to crack up a little bit. I appreciate all of you being here. We still got 115 people. That's wonderful. And I really, really love to see the way you guys interact with each other in the chats, and the chats roll along. I try to keep up, but I know I miss an awful lot of it. And I try to read what I do watch the replay. And I do it, and I read the chat as it rolls by. It's either read the chat or look at me. I'd rather read the chat. Corn syrup is killing everyone. That's true. Carnivore honestly loves me. Yeah, I'll tell it like it is. A long time ago when I was a young man, I had an attorney. He said to me, "You know what I really like about you, Mitch?" I said, "What, Rick?" He says, "Whatever's on your mind just comes flying out of your mouth." I've always been that way. Question: do you consider fasting at all? No. No, I don't feel the need to do a long-term fast because I weigh 138 pounds, for God's sake. So what am I? I'm not trying to lose any weight. For my age, I'm in as good a shape as I'm happy. I'm happy with the shape I'm in. I'm happy with the way I look. I may not be the prettiest thing in the world, but prettier than most people my age. And if you got to lose a lot of weight, yeah, I would fast. If you end up with, tons of loose skin after you've lost some weight and you want to kick that autophagy up a little bit, that might be good. I intermittent fast. I fast 18 to 20 hours every day. I only eat 2 meals a day, 3 to 4 hours apart. That's it. So I do enough fasting every day. I don't worry about ketones. I let my body do its thing. I don't regulate anything. I don't measure anything. I don't prick my finger. I don't care where my everything. I figure, as long as I feel good and my weight's stable and I'm healthy and I'm not sick and my blood work is good, why do I have to monitor it on a daily basis? If I had diabetes, different story. But to worry about ketones, you don't see Ken Berry, you don't see Sean Baker, you don't see Anthony Chafee ever talking about ketones or measuring ketones. It's folly if you're on a proper carnivore diet to be worried about whether you're in ketosis or not. You don't want to be in ketosis all the time. You want to be flexible. You want to be going in and out whenever your body wants to. That lets you be a hybrid and burn the optimal fuel. And if you're eating mostly meat and fat, that's what you're going to be burning mostly. Obviously, I'm not running on sugar, but my body is making sugar through gluconeogenesis in the liver, and it's turning proteins and other things into sugar for the cells of my body that need sugar. Anyway, it works. It works. We're not designed to have to be monitored all the time. We're autonomous machines that are designed to take care of themselves, do the right thing, survive, as if we were just an animal with no conscious thought. Because that's what we are. That's what we come from. So anyway, guys, good seeing you again. I see another question in here. Did it? Well, if I missed you, I'm sorry. Switzerland, hey, there you go. Andrew gave me the rest of the day off. Thank you. I think Donna's got the last word here. I hear you about the ketones, but I'm curious as to about it, which is why I ordered the dual glucose ketone. Yeah, if you're on a carnivore diet, you're not eating any carbs, you don't need to worry about glucose. It's going to be where it's going to be. There's nothing you can do about it. See, that's the thing. I'm already eating the optimal diet for me. There's nothing I could change if I wanted to change the numbers. So what do I care? I mean, as long as it's working, it's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. I'm going to give you a little treat here on the way out. I don't know. Nah. There we go. Let's get real here. Thanks for coming, everybody. Appreciate it. I think even though it's 10 o'clock, I may go fire up a little cigar, watch some of this live stream, see how I did. Appreciate all the comments, and appreciate with, you know, it's getting late. I appreciate you putting up with me for a couple hours. To those of you that are in the private community, I will see you on Thursday night. And I'll see most of you, if you watch a video tomorrow, I'll probably come up with something. So with that being said, take the rest of the night off and eat meat.